Hello and welcome to Nightmare Lullabies. As you settle in for the night, slip into over an hour of eerie tales and whispered shadows, laced with soft rain and thunder, crafted to chill you and soothe you into sleep. Now close your eyes, relax, and let the darkness drift you away. And if these nightly whispers draw you in, stay with us for more haunting secrets. The Snap Stalker. Mia sat cross-legged on her dorm bed, the glow of her phone's screen casting a faint blue light across her face. It was nearly midnight, and the hum of the university campus outside her window had faded into a distant murmur. Her roommate, Ellie, was already asleep, her soft snores mixing with the occasional creak of the old building. Mia scrolled through Snapchat, watching her friends' stories, clips of late-night study sessions, parties, and blurry selfies. She smiled at a snap from her friend Ryan, who'd posted a goofy video of himself trying to balance a textbook on his head in the library. Her thumb hovered over the screen as a new snap popped up, the notification banner showing an unfamiliar username, Watcher_99. Mia frowned, her finger hesitating. She didn't recognize the name, but she'd added a lot of people from her art classes over the semester. Maybe it was someone new. She tapped the notification, and the snap loaded. The image showed her walking across the quad earlier that day, her blue jacket bright against the gray concrete path. The photo was taken from behind a tree, the angle slightly off, as if the person holding the phone had been hiding. A caption in bold white text stretched across the bottom. "You look nice in blue." Mia's stomach twisted, a cold chill running down her spine. She was wearing that jacket today. She stared at the image, her breath catching as she noticed the timestamp, 3:47 p.m., right after her painting class. "Who is this?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible over Ellie's snores. She tapped to replay the snap, but it disappeared after the second view, as Snapchat snaps do. Her fingers shook as she swiped to block the account, her heart thudding in her chest. Just a prank, she told herself. Someone from class messing with her. But the unease lingered, a heavy weight in her gut. Her phone buzzed again, another snap notification. This time, the username was Watcher_02. Mia's breath hitched. She opened it, and the image showed her sitting in the library that afternoon, her sketchbook open on the table, her head bent over a drawing. The angle was from across the room, through a gap in the bookshelves. The caption read, "You're so focused when you draw." The snap vanished after a few seconds, leaving her staring at her phone's blank screen. "Ellie!" Mia's voice cracked as she shook her roommate awake. Ellie groaned, rolling over, her blonde hair a mess across her pillow. "What, Mia? It's late," Ellie mumbled, rubbing her eyes. "Someone's sending me weird snaps." "Look!" Mia shoved her phone toward Ellie, but the snaps were gone, deleted automatically by Snapchat's design. She explained what she'd seen, her words tumbling out in a rush. Ellie sat up, frowning, but her expression softened into a tired smile. "It's probably just a creep from one of your classes trying to freak you out. Block them and go to sleep," Ellie said, lying back down. "If it keeps happening, tell campus security. But I'm sure it's nothing." Mia nodded, but she didn't feel reassured. She blocked Watcher_02, her fingers trembling as she navigated the app. She set her phone face down on her nightstand, pulling her blanket up to her chin. The room felt too quiet now, the shadows in the corners too dark. She closed her eyes, trying to calm her racing thoughts, but her phone buzzed again, the sound sharp in the silence. She grabbed it, her heart pounding, and opened the snap. This time, the username was Watcher_13. The image showed her dorm window, the curtains slightly parted, her silhouette visible as she'd been sitting on her bed moments ago. The photo was taken from outside, the angle low, as if the person had been standing in the bushes below. The caption read, "Good night, Mia." A scream caught in her throat. She dropped the phone, the device clattering onto the floor. Ellie jolted awake, sitting up with a start. "What's wrong?" she demanded, her voice thick with sleep. Mia pointed at the window, her hands shaking. "Someone's out there. They took a picture of me just now." She scrambled out of bed, her bare feet cold against the tile floor, and yanked the curtains shut. Ellie grabbed her own phone, dialing campus security as Mia peeked through a tiny gap in the curtains. The bushes below were still, the courtyard empty under the dim streetlights. But the snap had been real. She hadn't imagined it. Security arrived 10 minutes later, 2 officers with flashlights sweeping the area outside. They found nothing, no footprints, no signs of anyone lurking. Maybe it was a prank, one of the officers said, his tone skeptical. Kids do stupid things on social media all the time. Let us know if it happens again. Mia nodded, her throat tight, but she didn't believe it was a prank. She sat on her bed, clutching her phone as Ellie tried to comfort her. You should report it to the police tomorrow, Ellie said, her voice softer now. And maybe stay off Snapchat for a while. Yeah, Mia whispered, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from her phone. The screen was dark, but she felt like it was watching her, waiting to buzz again. She turned it off completely, shoving it into her desk drawer, but sleep didn't come. Every creak of the building made her jump, every shadow felt like a threat. And as the hours ticked by, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still out there, watching her every move, waiting for the next snap to load. The morning sun filtered through the dorm window, but it did little to ease Mia's dread. She hadn't slept, her eyes red and heavy as she sat at the campus police station, her phone on the table in front of her. The officer across from her, a middle-aged man with a tired expression, scrolled through her account. But the snaps were long gone, erased by Snapchat's disappearing message feature. There's not much we can do without evidence, the officer said, leaning back in his chair. These apps make it hard to trace anything. I'd recommend changing your username, setting your account to private, and reporting it to Snapchat. If you get more messages, screenshot them before they disappear. Mia nodded, her fingers twisting in her lap. She'd already changed her username to something random, ArtGirl22, and made her account private, but the fear lingered. What if they keep finding me? She asked, her voice small. The officer sighed, handing her phone back. If it escalates, come back. But for now, be careful what you post online. Stalkers thrive on information. Mia left the station, her stomach churning. She walked across campus, her eyes darting to every shadow, every person passing by. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She stopped at the campus coffee shop, hoping a latte would calm her nerves. As she waited in line, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Her heart sank as she pulled it out. A new snap from Watcher_47. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the notification, but she opened it, her breath shallow. The image showed her standing in line at the coffee shop, her back to the camera, the barista handing her a cup. The caption read, "I'm always watching." The snap vanished, leaving her staring at the blank screen, her hands trembling. She spun around, scanning the shop. Students chatted at tables, a few people typed on laptops, but no one seemed out of place, except for a man in a gray hoodie sitting in the corner, his face hidden by the brim of a baseball cap. He was staring at his phone, his fingers moving quickly over the screen. Mia's stomach dropped. She'd seen that hoodie before, in the background of the library snap. She grabbed her coffee and hurried out, her pulse racing. She walked quickly toward her next class, but her phone buzzed again. Another snap, this time from Watcher_19. The image showed her walking down the path she was on right now, the coffee cup in her hand, the gray-hooded man visible in the background, following her. The caption read, "You can't outrun me." Mia broke into a run, her coffee spilling as she sprinted to the art building. She locked herself in a bathroom stall, her breaths coming in sharp gasps. She blocked the account, but another snap came through, Watcher_33. This one showed the bathroom door, her sneakers visible under the stall. "I know where you are," the caption read. She stifled a sob, her hands shaking as she called her friend Ryan. He answered on the second ring, his voice calm but concerned. "Mia, what's wrong?" "Someone's stalking me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They're sending snaps. They're here, Ryan. In the building. Stay where you are." "I'm coming to get you," Ryan said, his tone firm. "Don't move." 10 minutes later, Ryan found her in the bathroom, his dark hair disheveled, his eyes wide with worry. Mia explained everything, showing him the latest snap before it disappeared. Ryan, a computer science major, frowned, his mind already working. "We need to set a trap," he said. "Post a fake story, say you're going somewhere public, like the park tomorrow. If they show up, we'll catch them on camera." Mia nodded, her fear mixing with a flicker of hope. They spent the afternoon planning, setting up a story that claimed she'd be at the park at 3 p.m. the next day, sketching by the fountain. Ryan borrowed a friend's camera to record the area, hoping to catch the stalker in the act. But that night, as Mia lay in her dorm, another snap came through. Watcher_88. The image showed her and Ryan sitting on her bed, planning, the camera visible on her desk. The caption read, "Nice try." Mia's blood ran cold. The stalker had been in her room, or close enough to see through the window. She checked the locks, her hands shaking, but the window was secure, the door bolted. Ellie was at a party, leaving Mia alone with her fear. She called Ryan, her voice trembling. "They know what we're doing. They were here." Ryan's voice was tense. "Pack a bag. You're staying with me tonight. We'll figure this out." Mia grabbed her things, her eyes darting to the window. The courtyard was empty, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the stalker was out there, watching her every move, waiting for the next snap to send. Mia spent the night on Ryan's couch, the hum of his apartment's heater the only sound in the dark. She couldn't sleep, her phone clutched in her hand, set to silent, but still a constant threat. Ryan had stayed up late, trying to trace the Watcher accounts, but Snapchat's encryption made it nearly impossible. "They're using burner accounts," he'd said, frustration in his voice. "Every time you block one, they make a new one." By morning, Mia had made a decision. She was done with Snapchat. She deleted her account, her fingers trembling as she confirmed the action. "No more snaps," she told Ryan, her voice firm. "If they can't reach me, they'll stop." But they didn't stop. That afternoon, as Mia and Ryan walked to the campus library, her phone buzzed with a text message. It was a screenshot of a snap, sent from Ellie's account. The image showed Mia sleeping on Ryan's couch the night before, her blanket tangled around her legs. The caption read, "You can't hide." Mia's stomach churned. The stalker had hacked Ellie's account, or worse, Ellie was involved. "Ellie wouldn't do this," Mia said, her voice shaking as she called her roommate. Ellie answered, sounding confused but horrified when Mia explained. "I didn't send that. My phone's been acting weird all day. I thought it was a glitch," Ellie said, her voice rising with panic. Ryan took the phone, his jaw tight. "They're hacking your friends' accounts now. This isn't just a game, they're escalating." He set up cameras around his apartment, small devices he'd borrowed from a tech club, hoping to catch the stalker on video. That night, the cameras caught something. A man in a gray hoodie tampering with the building's power box, cutting the electricity for a few minutes. The footage was grainy, his face obscured, but it was proof the stalker was real, physical, and close. Mia's phone buzzed again, a snap from Kale, another friend. The image showed the camera feed from Ryan's apartment, the screen displaying the gray-hooded man. The caption read, "I see you too." Mia's heart pounded. The stalker was watching them, even now, turning their own surveillance against them. "We can't stay here," Ryan said, grabbing his keys. "They know where we are. We need to end this." Mia nodded, her fear giving way to anger. "I'm tired of running," she said, her voice steady for the first time in days. "Let's confront them. Set a real trap, one they can't escape." They chose an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, a place Ryan knew from a photography project. Mia used a burner phone to create a new Snapchat account, posting a story that said she'd be at the warehouse at midnight, needing to clear her head. She and Ryan arrived early, setting up cameras around the perimeter, their plan simple: record the stalker, get evidence, and call the police. At midnight, Mia's phone buzzed with a snap from Watcher_01. The image showed the warehouse entrance, the rusted door slightly ajar, with Mia and Ryan visible inside, setting up the cameras. The caption read, "I'm here." Mia's breath caught as she heard footsteps echoing in the dark, the sound heavy and deliberate. She gripped a flashlight, her hands trembling as Ryan whispered, "Stay close." The footsteps grew louder, and then her phone buzzed again, Watcher_05. The image showed Ryan unconscious, tied up in a corner of the warehouse, his camera shattered on the ground. Mia's heart stopped. She turned, shining her flashlight, and saw Ryan slumped against a wall, his head bleeding, ropes binding his wrists. The stalker had been here all along, waiting for them. A figure stepped into the beam of her flashlight, a man in his 30s, his face scarred, his gray hoodie stained with sweat. He held a phone in one hand, a knife in the other, his eyes cold and unblinking. "You shouldn't have played my game, Mia," he said, his voice low and menacing. Now you'll never escape. Mia froze, the flashlight trembling in her hand, its beam illuminating the man's scarred face. He took a step closer, the knife glinting in the dim light, his lips curling into a twisted smile. "I've been watching you for months," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Ever since I saw you at that coffee shop on 5th Street. You smiled at me, Mia. You made me feel seen." Her stomach churned, bile rising in her throat. She didn't remember him, didn't remember smiling at anyone, but his obsession was clear in his eyes, a dangerous, unhinged fixation. "I don't even know you," she whispered, her voice shaking as she backed away, her sneakers scuffing against the concrete floor. "You don't have to," he said, taking another step. "I know you. Every detail. Your classes, your friends, your routines. Snapchat made it so easy." He held up his phone, the screen showing her latest story, the fake one about the warehouse. "You thought you could trap me, but I'm always one step ahead." Mia's eyes darted to Ryan, still unconscious, blood trickling down his temple. She had to get to him, had to get them both out of here. She tightened her grip on the flashlight, her mind racing. The warehouse was a maze of rusted machinery and broken crates, but she'd memorized the layout with Ryan earlier. If she could distract the stalker, she might have a chance to run. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice louder now, trying to buy time. She edged toward a pile of debris, spotting a broken pipe among the rubble. The man, Daniel, she'd later learn, tilted his head, his smile fading. "Because you're mine, Mia. I've been watching you, protecting you. But you kept trying to run." He raised the knife, his voice hardening. "I can't let you do that anymore." Mia lunged for the pipe, her fingers closing around the cold metal as Daniel charged. She swung the pipe with all her strength, the metal connecting with his arm. He grunted, the knife clattering to the ground, but he didn't stop. He tackled her, his weight pinning her to the concrete, his hands wrapping around her throat. "You can't escape me," he growled, his breath hot against her face. She clawed at his hands, her vision blurring as she gasped for air. Her fingers brushed against the flashlight, still in her grip, and she swung it hard, smashing it into his temple. Daniel reeled back, blood streaming from the gash, and Mia scrambled out from under him, her lungs burning as she sucked in air. She grabbed the pipe again, her hands slick with sweat, and ran toward Ryan. "Ryan, wake up!" she shouted, shaking him as she untied the ropes. He groaned, his eyes fluttering open, but he was too dazed to move. Daniel was already on his feet, his face a mask of rage, blood dripping down his cheek. He picked up the knife, his steps slow but deliberate as he approached. Mia dragged Ryan behind a crate, her heart pounding as she searched for an escape. The warehouse's main exit was too far, blocked by Daniel's path, but there was a side door they'd scouted earlier, leading to an alley. She whispered to Ryan, "We need to move now." He nodded weakly, leaning on her as they stumbled toward the door, Daniel's footsteps echoing behind them. They burst into the alley, the cold night air hitting Mia's face like a slap. She slammed the door shut, wedging the pipe through the handle to slow Daniel down. Ryan leaned against the wall, his breathing ragged, but he managed to stand. "We need to get to the street, call the police," he said, his voice slurred. Mia nodded, pulling him along, but guilt gnawed at her. She'd left him behind in the warehouse, too scared to fight. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. "Don't be," Ryan said, squeezing her hand. "You saved us. Now let's finish this." They reached the street, the lights of a gas station visible in the distance. Mia dialed 911 on Ryan's phone, her voice shaking as she explained the situation. But as the operator assured her help was on the way, her phone buzzed with a new snap, Watcher_99 again. The image showed her and Ryan in the alley moments ago, the gas station lights in the background. The caption read, "You can't run forever." Mia's blood ran cold as she stared at the snap, the image vanishing after a few seconds. Daniel was still out there, still following them, even after the warehouse. She grabbed Ryan's arm, her voice urgent. "He's here. He's still watching us." Ryan's face paled, his hand pressing against his bleeding temple. "We need to move," he said, his voice weak but determined. They stumbled toward the gas station, the neon lights growing brighter, but every shadow felt like a threat, every sound a footstep. Mia's phone buzzed again. Another snap, this time showing them crossing the street, the gas station just ahead. The caption read, "I'm closer than you think." "He's tracking us," Mia said, her voice trembling. How does he keep finding us? Ryan's eyes widened, his tech instincts kicking in despite his injury. Your phone. It's got to be your phone. He's probably hacked an app to track your location. We need to ditch it. Mia hesitated, her phone the only lifeline to the police, but she knew he was right. She spotted a dumpster in an alley beside the gas station and tossed her phone inside, the device clattering against the metal. Now what? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. We hide, Ryan said, pulling her toward the gas station. And we wait for the police. They slipped inside. The clerk, a tired-looking man in his 50s, barely glancing up from his magazine. Mia borrowed his phone, calling 911 again to update their location. The operator promised officers were minutes away, but every second felt like an eternity. Mia and Ryan crouched behind a shelf of snacks, their breaths shallow, their eyes fixed on the glass doors. The doors swung open, and Mia's heart stopped. Daniel stepped inside, his gray hoodie stained with blood, his scarred face illuminated by the fluorescent lights. He held a phone in one hand, the knife tucked into his waistband, his eyes scanning the store. The clerk looked up, frowning. Can I help you? He asked, his tone wary. Daniel ignored him, his gaze locking onto the shelf where Mia and Ryan hid. I know you're in here, Mia, he called, his voice chillingly calm. You can't hide from me. Mia clapped a hand over her mouth, stifling a sob, as Ryan squeezed her arm, his eyes wide with fear. The clerk stood, reaching for something under the counter, but Daniel pulled the knife, pointing it at him. Stay out of this, he growled, his attention shifting back to the shelves. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, and Daniel's head snapped toward the sound. He cursed under his breath, his movements frantic now, but before he could search further, 2 police cars screeched into the parking lot, their lights flashing. Officers burst into the store, guns drawn, shouting at Daniel to drop the knife. He hesitated, his eyes darting to Mia, a twisted smile on his face. This isn't over, he said, just loud enough for her to hear, before dropping the knife and raising his hands. The officers tackled him to the ground, cuffing him as Mia and Ryan emerged from their hiding spot, their breaths ragged with relief. The police identified him as Daniel Carter, a 34-year-old former IT specialist with a history of stalking charges. He'd been fired from his job months ago, spiraling into obsession after seeing Mia at the coffee shop. He'd used his tech skills to track her through Snapchat, hacking her friends' accounts and following her every move. Mia and Ryan gave their statements, the officers promising Daniel would be locked up for a long time. But as they left the gas station, an officer handed Mia her phone, recovered from the dumpster. You might need this, he said, his tone kind. Mia turned it on, her hands shaking, and saw a new Snap notification, sent during Daniel's arrest. The username was Watcher_00. The image showed her in the gas station, hiding behind the shelf, her face pale with fear. The caption read, I'm not done. Her heart sank as she realized Daniel hadn't been working alone. Mia moved to a new city 3 months later, her old life packed into a single suitcase. The university had granted her a semester off after the incident, and she'd taken the opportunity to start fresh, far from the memories of Daniel Carter. She rented a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where neighbors nodded politely but kept to themselves. She deleted Snapchat, her social media accounts reduced to a bare minimum, her phone locked down with every security app Ryan had recommended. But the trauma lingered, a shadow that followed her everywhere. She jumped at every unexpected sound, her eyes scanning crowds for gray hoodies, her dreams haunted by Daniel's scarred face. Therapy helped, but the fear never fully left her. She'd started taking self-defense classes, the weight of a pepper spray canister in her bag a small comfort. Ryan had recovered from his injuries, though he'd decided to take a gap year, traveling with his family to clear his head. They kept in touch, their calls a lifeline for Mia, but she couldn't shake the guilt of dragging him into her nightmare. You didn't drag me into anything, he'd told her during their last call. I'd do it again to keep you safe. One evening, as Mia sat in her apartment, a cup of tea cooling on the table, her doorbell rang. She froze, her heart racing, but it was just a delivery, a small envelope with no return address. She opened it, her hands trembling, and found a printed screenshot of a Snap she'd never seen before. The image showed her in her new apartment, sitting on the couch, her face illuminated by the TV. The caption read, I'll always find you. Mia dropped the envelope, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She called the police, her voice shaking as she explained the situation. They came quickly, taking the screenshot as evidence, and launched an investigation. They discovered Daniel had an accomplice, a friend named Mark, who'd shared his obsession with Mia. Mark had been at the gas station that night, watching from the shadows, snapping the final photo as Daniel was arrested. He was still out there evading capture, his fixation on Mia as strong as Daniel's. The police installed security cameras around her apartment, their presence a constant reminder of the danger. Mia doubled down on her self-defense training, her determination growing alongside her fear. She wouldn't be a victim again, she couldn't afford to be. She started a blog, anonymously sharing her story, hoping to warn others about the dangers of social media stalking. The blog gained traction, giving her a sense of purpose, a way to fight back against the terror. One night, as she sat at her desk, her laptop open to her blog, her phone buzzed with a new email. Her heart sank as she opened it, finding another Snap screenshot. This one showing her walking home from self-defense class, her gym bag slung over her shoulder. The caption read, "You're stronger now." "I like that." Mia's hands shook as she forwarded the email to the police, her fear giving way to resolve. She wouldn't run this time, she'd fight. She checked her security cameras, her pepper spray ready, her mind sharp despite the terror. The story ended with her staring at her phone, a new Snap notification popping up, her finger hesitating over the screen, knowing the nightmare wasn't over. The Snap Challenge. Jake sprawled across his bed, his phone screen casting a harsh glow across his face. It was a Friday night, the hum of cicadas drifting through his open window, the house quiet as his parents watched TV downstairs. At 17, a junior at Westbridge High, Jake felt the familiar itch of boredom, scrolling through Snapchat to kill time. His friends' stories flashed by, clips of skateboarding tricks, late-night snacks, and group chats filled with laughter. Then a new story caught his eye, posted by a username he didn't recognize. Daredevil HQ. The story looped a 10-second video. A kid in a ski mask dangling from a rooftop, then landing with a triumphant fist pump, the caption reading, "Daredevil Challenge, Day 1, 100 points. Join now." The description promised cash prizes for the top scorers, with dares posted daily on a private Snapchat group. Jake's curiosity piqued. He'd heard of online challenges before, stupid stuff like eating Tide Pods, but this one seemed different, edgy with real stakes. He tapped the link, joining the group, and received his first dare. Steal a street sign and snap proof. 50 points. He hesitated, glancing at his bedroom door, but the thrill of it outweighed his nerves. Grabbing a screwdriver from his dad's toolbox, he slipped out into the night, the cool air biting at his skin. He found a no parking sign on a quiet street, unscrewed it with shaky hands, and propped it against a tree for a quick snap. The flash illuminated the sign, his face partially visible, and he posted it to the Daredevil group. Within minutes, likes flooded in, his score ticking up to 50. His phone buzzed with a message. "Good start. Next dare tomorrow. Don't fail." Back in his room, Jake grinned, the adrenaline pumping. He showed the snap to his best friend, Nate, the next day at school, a lanky kid with messy brown hair. "Check it out, 50 points already," Jake said, holding up his phone. Nate frowned, scrolling through the group chat. "This looks sketchy, man. What if you get caught? My cousin got busted for a dumb TikTok prank last year." "It's just a game," Jake said, waving him off. "The prize is like $500 for the top guy. I could use that for a new board." Nate shrugged, unconvinced, but let it drop. That afternoon, the next dare dropped. Vandalize a car, key it, or smash a window. 100 points. Jake's stomach tightened, but the group's comments egged him on. "Do it, coward." And the leaderboard showed him in the top 20. Late that night, he found an old sedan in a deserted parking lot, dragged a key across the hood, and snapped the damage, his heart racing. The post earned him 100 points, pushing him to 150, and the likes poured in. But as he lay in bed, the thrill faded, replaced by a gnawing unease. His phone buzzed again, a private snap from Daredevil HQ. The image showed the leaderboard, Jake's name in the top 10 with a caption, "Next dare tomorrow. Don't fail." The word fail lingered in his mind, a warning he couldn't shake. The next morning, Jake woke to a new dare. Break into an abandoned house and snap yourself inside. 200 points. His hands trembled as he read it, the group chat buzzing with excitement. Epic dare. Go for it. He knew an old house on the edge of town, boarded up for years, and convinced himself it was harmless. That night, he brought a crowbar, prying a loose board from a window, and climbed inside. The air was stale, the floor creaking under his weight, and he snapped a selfie in the dark, the flash catching cobwebs and broken furniture. He posted it, earning 200 points, but as he turned to leave, a noise stopped him, a rustle from the shadows. A figure stepped forward, masked in black, holding a phone. "Nice work," the voice said, distorted but male. "Keep playing or we'll dox you." The figure snapped a photo of Jake, then vanished through a back door. Jake's blood ran cold as he checked his phone. A new snap from Daredevil HQ showed his face, captioned with his home address. "Quit, and everyone sees this." He stumbled home, his mind racing. The next dare arrived at noon. Start a fight and record it. 300 points. Jake's stomach churned, but the threat loomed large. At lunch, he picked a fight with a quiet kid, Tom, shoving him in the cafeteria. Tom swung back, and Jake filmed it, posting the snap despite Tom's bloody nose. The group cheered, his score hitting 500, but guilt gnawed at him as Tom was sent to the nurse. That night, a private snap from Daredevil HQ read, "Good job. Next dare. Hurt someone worse. 500 points." Jake threw his phone across the room, the screen cracking. He told Nate everything, his voice breaking. "They're forcing me to do this. If I stop, they'll ruin me." Nate's face darkened. "This isn't a game, Jake. It's blackmail. You need to go to the police." "I can't," Jake said, his voice low. "They'll leak everything, my address, the videos. My parents would kill me." Nate sighed, rubbing his temples. "Then we need proof. Record the admins somehow. But if you keep going, someone's going to get hurt badly." Jake nodded, his resolve shaky. He couldn't quit, not yet, but the weight of the next dare pressed on him like a stone. The next dare arrived at midnight. Burn down a shed. 500 points. Jake's hands shook as he read it, the group chat urging him on. "Do it. Top the board." He knew an old shed behind a vacant lot, its wood weathered and dry. He grabbed a lighter and a bottle of lighter fluid from his garage, his heart pounding as he drove there under cover of darkness. The flame caught quickly, the shed erupting in a blaze, and he snapped the fire, posting it with trembling fingers. His score soared to 1,000, placing him first on the leaderboard, the prize now $5,000. But the fire spread, licking at dry grass, and a homeless man sleeping nearby woke, coughing, trapped by the flames. Jake panicked, calling 911 anonymously, but the damage was done. The man suffered burns, rushed to the hospital. Guilt consumed Jake as he deleted the snap, but it was too late. The group had seen it, their comments a mix of awe and bloodlust. The final dare dropped hours later. Murder someone. 1,000 points. Win the game. Jake stared at the screen, his breath shallow. He couldn't do it, wouldn't do it. He typed a message to Daredevil HQ. "I'm out." The response was instant, a snap showing Nate walking home, captioned, "Quit and he pays." Jake's blood ran cold. He called Nate, warning him to stay inside, but the next snap showed Nate's house, the windows dark. "They're serious," Jake whispered, his voice breaking. He tried to quit again, but the admins doxed him, leaking his address and the shed video to the police. His parents woke to a flood of calls, his house swarmed by reporters, and the police arrived with a warrant. Jake was arrested, his wrists cuffed as he sobbed, "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." In a holding cell, a guard slipped him a smuggled phone, a final snap from Daredevil HQ. The image showed the leaderboard, his name still first, with the caption, "You failed. Now you pay." Jake smashed the phone against the wall, the screen shattering, but the threat lingered. Jake was released on bail 2 days later, his parents' faces etched with disappointment. The shed fire charges loomed, but his lawyer argued coercion, buying him time. Yet the Daredevil group wasn't done. Snaps arrived from new accounts, showing his family, his mom at the grocery store, his dad at work, captioned, "Payback time." Jake's fear turned to anger. He couldn't let them terrorize his family. He called Nate, who'd been hiding at a friend's house. "We need to find these admins," Jake said, his voice hard. "End this." Nate agreed, using his tech skills to create burner accounts, infiltrating the Daredevil group chat. They posed as new players, gaining trust, and traced the admins' messages to a basement in a nearby town. The chat revealed the admins were a group of older teens, led by a 19-year-old named Tyler, running the challenge for profit, exploiting kids for views on a dark web stream. Jake and Nate drove to the address, a rundown house with boarded windows, their hearts pounding. They crept inside, the air thick with cigarette smoke, and found Tyler and two others, 18-year-old Sam and Jess, watching a live feed of the leaderboard. Tyler, a wiry guy with a shaved head, smirked as he saw them. "You're that kid from the shed, huh? Came to join the fun." "You're done," Jake said, holding up his phone recording. "I've got proof." Tyler laughed, pulling a switchblade. "You think you can stop us?" A fight broke out. Sam lunged at Nate, who dodged, smashing a chair over his head. Jess grabbed Jake, but he twisted free, tackling Tyler. Tyler swung the blade, grazing Jake's arm, but Jake grabbed a crowbar from the floor, slamming it into Tyler's shoulder. Tyler crumpled, groaning, the knife skittering away. "Tell the police everything," Jake said, his voice shaking as he held the crowbar. Tyler spat blood, admitting they'd targeted Jake for his desperation for fame, profiting off his dares. Sirens wailed outside. Nate had called the cops during the fight, and officers stormed in, arresting the trio. Jake handed over his recording, his arm bleeding but his resolve firm. Jake's charges were reduced to misdemeanor vandalism, his cooperation swaying the court, but his life was a wreck. The shed fire had injured the homeless man, who'd recover but sue Jake's family. His reputation at school was ruined, classmates whispering as he walked the halls. The Daredevil challenge was shut down, its dark web stream exposed, but copycat groups sprang up on Snapchat, posting new dares. Beat someone up. Burn a car. The cycle continuing. Jake deleted his Snapchat account, his phone a constant reminder of his mistakes. He started therapy, the counselor helping him unpack his guilt, but the nightmares persisted, flames, screams, Tyler's blade. His parents were supportive, though strained by legal fees, and Nate stood by him, their friendship a lifeline. "You didn't know," Nate said, clapping his shoulder. "We'll get through this." Months later, an anonymous snap appeared on Nate's phone. A video of Jake at school captioned, "You'll never be free." Jake's stomach dropped. He traced the account, finding it linked to a new group, but the police said it was untraceable, likely one of Tyler's admirers. Jake and Nate planned to disappear for a while, booking a cabin in the mountains, hoping distance would help. They packed that night, but as Jake zipped his bag, his phone buzzed with another snap. The image showed the cabin's exterior, its porch light on, captioned, "Found you." His blood ran cold. Someone knew where they were going. Jake and Nate arrived at the cabin, the mountain air crisp, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos they'd left behind. They'd turned off their phones, using a burner for emergencies, but the snap had rattled Jake. "We need to be ready," he said, unpacking a kitchen knife from the cabin's drawer. Nate nodded, grabbing a hammer, their nerves on edge. The first night passed quietly, the only sounds the crackle of the fireplace and the wind outside. But at dawn, a snap appeared on the burner phone, sent from an unknown account. The image showed the cabin's window, Jake's silhouette visible as he stoked the fire. The caption read, "I'm here." Jake's heart pounded as he peeked out. Nothing but trees and fog. Hours later, the door burst open, and a figure stormed in, Clara, a 17-year-old with stringy hair, Tyler's younger sister. She held a knife, her eyes wild with rage. "You ruined my brother," she screamed, lunging at Jake. He dodged, the blade slicing his sleeve, and Nate swung the hammer, missing but forcing her back. A struggle ensued. Clara slashed at Nate, cutting his hand, but Jake tackled her, pinning her to the floor. She kicked and screamed, "This is for Tyler." Jake wrestled the knife away, locking her in the basement with a heavy bolt. Nate called the police, his voice shaking as he reported the attack. Officers arrived, arresting Clara, who confessed to tracking them via a hacked GPS signal from their original phones. Jake's arm throbbed, Nate's hand bled, but they were alive. The police assured them Clara would face charges, but Jake knew the internet wouldn't forget. His Daredevil videos lingered online, a permanent stain. Back home, Jake vowed to advocate against dangerous challenges, speaking at school assemblies about his ordeal. His story spread, inspiring others to resist peer pressure, and he found purpose in his pain. One day, as he walked to therapy, his new phone buzzed, a snap from an unknown account. The image showed him mid-stride, captioned, "The game never ends." He deleted it, his resolve strengthening, and continued forward, the weight of his past a shadow he'd carry but not let define him. The Snap Blackmail. Tara adjusted her apron, the scent of roasted coffee beans filling the air at Brew Haven, the small cafe where she worked. At 25, she was juggling shifts to save for a photography course, her dream since high school. It was a slow Thursday night, the cafe nearly empty except for a couple in the corner sharing a latte. Tara's phone buzzed in her pocket, a welcome distraction. She pulled it out, smiling at a snap from her boyfriend, Liam, a goofy selfie of him at his mechanic job captioned, "Miss you, babe." She snapped back a quick photo of herself behind the counter, her dark hair tied back, a playful smile on her face. "Closing soon," she captioned, adding a heart emoji and sent it to Liam. The snap disappeared after he viewed it, as Snapchat's design intended, and Tara went back to wiping down the counter, humming softly. Her phone buzzed again as she locked up at 10 p.m., the street outside quiet under the glow of streetlights. She expected another snap from Liam, but the username was unfamiliar. Dark Lens. Frowning, she opened it. The image was the snap she'd just sent Liam, her behind the counter, smiling, the heart emoji still visible. The new caption read, "Pay $1,000 or this goes public." Tara's heart skipped a beat, her breath catching in her throat. Her private snap, meant only for Liam, was now in a stranger's hands. She stood frozen on the sidewalk, her hands trembling as she replayed the snap, but it disappeared after the second view. Another snap loaded immediately, this time a screenshot of her contacts list. Her mom, Liam, her boss, her coworkers. The caption read, "I'll send it to everyone." Tara's stomach churned. She'd sent Liam other snaps that night, private ones, taken in her apartment, moments she'd never want anyone else to see. She called Liam, her voice shaking as she explained. "Someone's got my snaps, Liam. They're threatening to leak them." Her voice cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Liam's tone was steady but tense. "Don't pay. It's a scam. They'll keep asking for more. We'll figure this out." Tara nodded, but her phone buzzed again, a new snap from Dark Lens. This time, it was one of her private snaps, her in a towel after a shower, captioned, "Pay now, or this goes to your boss." Her chest tightened, panic rising. She couldn't risk it, not her job, not her privacy. Against Liam's advice, she clicked the payment link, transferring $1,000 from her savings, her fingers trembling as she hit send. The next morning, another snap arrived. "Good girl." It read, showing the payment confirmation. "But I need more, $2,000 by tonight." Tara's blood ran cold. Liam had been right, they wouldn't stop. She blocked the account, but a new one popped up, Dark Lens 2, sending the same snap, the same demand. She called Liam, her voice breaking. "I can't do this. I paid, and they're still coming for me." "Come to my place," Liam said, his voice firm. "We'll figure out how they got your snaps. And we'll stop them." Tara grabbed her things, her mind racing as she headed to Liam's apartment. The city lights blurred past her, but the fear lingered, a heavy weight on her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, waiting for the next snap to drop. Tara sat on Liam's couch, a cup of tea untouched in her hands, as he hunched over her phone, his brow furrowed. Liam, a 27-year-old mechanic with a knack for tech, had already reset her Snapchat password and enabled two-factor authentication. "They must have hacked your account," he said, scrolling through her settings. "Your memories, those private snaps you saved, they're all accessible if someone got in." Tara nodded, her throat tight. "But how? I never shared my password with anyone." "Could be a phishing link or malware from an app you downloaded," Liam said, his voice steady but grim. "These guys are pros. They know how to exploit people." Her phone buzzed, a new snap from Dark Lens 3. The image was a blank screen, but the caption read, "Steal $500 from your cafe. Snap proof by midnight, or I leak everything." Tara's stomach dropped, her hands trembling as she showed Liam. "No way," he said, his jaw tight. "You're not doing that. We'll go to the police." "And tell them what?" Tara snapped, her voice rising. "That I paid a blackmailer? That I've got private snaps they'll leak? I'll lose my job, Liam. My life." Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. Then we trace them. I've got a friend who can help, someone who knows how to track IPs. But you can't give in to this. Tara hesitated, her fear battling her resolve. But that afternoon, another snap arrived, a screenshot of her boss's contact info, with the earlier snap of her in a towel attached. "Last chance," the caption read. Tara's resolve crumbled. She couldn't risk it, not yet. That night, she went to Brew Haven, her hands shaking as she opened the register after closing. She took $500, snapping a photo of the cash, her face pale in the dim light, and sent it to Darklens 3. The reply was instant. "Good. Now break into this house, 1234 Elm Street. It's empty. Snap proof inside. Midnight tomorrow." Tara's blood ran cold, but the threat loomed large. She told Liam, her voice trembling, "I have to do it. Just this one more thing, then I'll stop." Liam's face darkened, but he nodded. "I'm coming with you. We'll record everything, get proof of the blackmail. Then we go to the police." They drove to Elm Street the next night, a quiet residential area, the house dark and unassuming. Liam carried a flashlight, Tara clutching her phone as they pried open a back window and climbed inside. The air was musty, the furniture covered in dust sheets. Tara snapped a photo of herself in the living room, her face pale, and sent it to Darklens 3. "Done," she whispered, turning to leave. But Liam froze, his flashlight catching something in the corner. A man's body, slumped against the wall, blood pooling around him, a knife wound in his chest. Tara stifled a scream, her phone slipping from her hand. The man was dead, his eyes open, staring blankly. Her phone buzzed. A new snap from Darklens 3. The image showed Tara standing over the body, her horrified expression clear, captioned, "You're mine now." Tara's knees buckled, her breath coming in gasps. "They set me up," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They killed him, and now they've got me on camera." Liam grabbed her arm, his voice urgent. "We need to get out of here. Now!" They stumbled out, the night air cold against Tara's skin, but the weight of the snap pressed on her, a noose tightening around her neck. Tara sat in Liam's car, her hands shaking as she stared at the snap on her phone. The image of her over the dead man's body was undeniable proof. She'd look like a murderer if it leaked. Liam drove in silence, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, until they reached his apartment. "We need to think," he said, locking the door behind them. "Whoever this Darklens is, they planned this. They killed that guy and lured you there to take the fall." Tara nodded, her throat tight. "What do we do? If I don't follow their orders, they'll send that snap to the police." Her phone buzzed. A new snap from Darklens 4. The caption read, "Dispose of the body. Riverbank, 2 a.m. snap proof, or I send this to the cops." The attached image was the same. Her over the body, her face a mask of horror. "I can't," Tara whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this." "You don't have a choice," Liam said, his voice low. "If you don't, you're done. But we'll record everything, every snap, every step. We'll prove you were coerced." They returned to the house, Tara's stomach churning as they wrapped the body in a tarp from Liam's trunk. The man's lifeless weight felt like a stone as they carried him to the car, the night eerily quiet. At the riverbank, they rolled him into the water, the splash echoing in the darkness. Tara snapped the proof, her hands trembling, and sent it to Darklens 4. The reply was immediate. "Good. You're in deep now." Back at Liam's, Tara broke down, sobbing into his chest. "I'm a monster," she whispered, her voice raw. "I just helped cover up a murder." "You didn't kill him," Liam said, holding her tight. "They did, and we're going to find them." The next snap revealed the truth. Darklens, now calling himself Lens, sent a message. "That guy was a rival hacker. I killed him. You're my cleanup crew. Keep quiet, or the snap goes public." Tara's blood ran cold. She was a pawn in a hacker's game, her life hanging by a thread. Liam worked through the night, using his friend's IP tracing software on Tara's phone. "Got something," he said at dawn, his voice tense. "The snaps are routing through a VPN, but there's a local IP, someone nearby. An apartment on 8th Street. Tara nodded, her fear giving way to resolve. They had a lead. They drove to the address, a dingy apartment building, and found the unit, number 12. Liam knocked, his hand on a tire iron, while Tara recorded on her phone. A man answered, mid-30s, with greasy hair and a scowl. "Eric," the name on the mailbox. "What do you want?" he snapped, his voice matching the distorted one Tara remembered from the snaps. Your dark lens, Tara said, her voice trembling but firm. And we're here to stop you. Eric's scowl twisted into a smirk as he leaned against the doorframe, his eyes flicking between Tara and Liam. You've got guts, he said, his voice low. But you're in over your head. He stepped back, gesturing for them to come inside, his casual demeanor unsettling Tara even more. They entered, the apartment dim and cluttered, the air thick with the smell of stale pizza and cigarettes. A desk in the corner held 3 monitors, one showing a live feed of Snapchat accounts, another displaying a folder labeled victims. Tara's stomach churned as she saw her own name on the list, alongside dozens of others. Your dark lens, Liam said, gripping the tire iron, his voice hard. You've been blackmailing her, making her cover up your murder. Eric shrugged, sitting at his desk, his fingers hovering over a keyboard. Call me Lens. And yeah, I've been running a little operation. Snapchat's perfect. People send private stuff, save it in memories, never think twice. I hack in, grab what I need, and they pay to keep it quiet. Your girl here? She's just one of many. Tara's hands shook as she held her phone, recording every word. You killed that man, she said, her voice trembling. And you framed me for it. Eric laughed, the sound cold. He was a rival, thought he could muscle in on my game. I took care of him, and you took care of the evidence. Perfect teamwork. He tapped a key, pulling up the snap of Tara over the body. This goes to the cops if you don't play nice. Liam lunged, swinging the tire iron, but Eric was faster, pulling a handgun from a drawer and pointing it at them. Don't be stupid, he said, his smirk gone. You're not walking out of here with that video. Tara's heart pounded as she stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fear. You've got files on all your victims, don't you? Let me delete mine and we'll leave. No cops. Eric's eyes narrowed, but he nodded, lowering the gun slightly. Fine, but one wrong move and you're both dead. Tara approached the desk, her phone still recording, and opened the folder with her name. She deleted the files, her hands trembling, but kept her eyes on Eric. Liam moved suddenly, tackling Eric while he was distracted, the gun skittering across the floor. Tara grabbed a lamp from the desk, smashing it over Eric's head, the glass shattering as he crumpled to the ground, unconscious. They tied him up with an extension cord, Liam's hands shaking as he retrieved the gun. We've got him, Tara said, her voice raw as she stopped the recording. Enough to put him away. They called the police, who arrived within minutes, cuffing Eric as he groaned, coming to. But as the officers searched the apartment, Tara noticed Eric's phone on the desk. A snap had been sent during the fight, to an unknown account, showing her and Liam captioned, "They know too much." Her blood ran cold. Eric hadn't been working alone. Tara and Liam went into hiding after Eric's arrest, staying at a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city. The police had seized Eric's devices, confirming he'd blackmailed over 50 people, using their snaps to extort money and favors. Tara's involvement in the body disposal was under investigation, but her recording of Eric's confession helped her case. She'd likely face probation, not jail time. But the snap Eric sent haunted her. He had a partner, she told Liam, her voice low as they sat in the motel room, the curtains drawn. Someone who knows what we did. Liam nodded, his face grim. We need to be careful. Lay low until the police figure out who it is. Her phone buzzed, a new snap from an unknown account. The image showed Liam's car in the motel parking lot, captioned, "I'm close." Tara's heart raced as she showed Liam, her hands trembling. They've found us. Liam grabbed his tire iron, his jaw tight. We need to end this. Set a trap, lure them here, catch them on camera. They used a burner phone to create a fake Snapchat account, posting a story saying they were staying at the motel, room 12, midnight. They set up Tara's phone to record, hiding in the bathroom with the lights off, waiting. At 12:05 a.m., the door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, a woman mid-20s with short blonde hair and a cold expression, holding a knife. Tara recognized her from Eric's files. Sophie, his girlfriend, listed as a secondary contact in his operation. Sophie scanned the room, her voice low. I know you're here, Tara. You ruined everything. Eric, our business. You're going to pay. Tara stepped out, her phone recording, pepper spray in hand. It's over, Sophie. The police know about Eric. They'll know about you too. Sophie lunged, the knife flashing, but Tara sprayed her, the mist catching Sophie in the face. She screamed, dropping the knife, and Liam tackled her, pinning her to the ground. They tied her up with a belt, calling the police, who arrived to arrest her. Sophie spat curses as she was dragged away, but Tara felt no relief. Her paranoia lingered. Eric and Sophie were caught, but the snaps were still out there, in the hands of others who might use them. Tara deleted her Snapchat account the next day, moving to a new city with Liam. They rented a small apartment, far from the nightmare of the past weeks, and Tara found a new job at a bookstore, her photography dreams on hold but not forgotten. She installed security software on all her devices, her trust in technology shattered, and started therapy to cope with the trauma. Liam was her rock, his quiet strength keeping her grounded, but the fear of exposure lingered. One evening, as she unpacked books at work, her phone buzzed with an email, no sender, just a subject. For you. Attached was a snap screenshot. Her at the motel, subduing Sophie, captioned, "I'm still watching." Tara's stomach dropped. She forwarded it to the police, who traced it to a network of hackers linked to Eric and Sophie, still active, trading snaps for profit on the dark web. Tara joined a support group for cybercrime victims, sharing her story anonymously, finding strength in the community. She wrote an article about her experience, published under a pseudonym, warning others about the dangers of oversharing online. The article gained traction, giving her a sense of purpose, a way to fight back. Months later, she received a message from Sophie, now in prison, sent through a smuggled phone. A snap of Tara's new apartment building, captioned, "You'll never be safe." Tara reported it, the police tightening security, but she knew the threat would never fully disappear. She checked her email one last time before bed, a new message loading, her heart sinking as she braced for another nightmare. The Snap impersonator. Ethan woke to the buzz of his phone, the early morning light filtering through his bedroom window. At 16, a junior at Pineview High, he was used to waking up to Snapchat notifications, friends posting late-night gaming clips or group chat banter. But this morning, his screen was flooded with angry messages, dozens of snaps and texts piling up. "You're a jerk, Ethan," read one from his friend Maya. "What's your problem?" from another, his teammate Caleb. Confused, he opened Snapchat, his stomach dropping as he saw the source. His account, username Ethan the Great, had posted a string of snaps overnight, each one crueler than the last. A snap to Maya showed a screenshot of her private message about her parents' divorce, captioned, "Crybaby can't handle it." Another to Caleb mocked his recent breakup, with a laughing emoji. There were more insults, secrets leaked, private photos shared, all sent from his account while he'd been asleep. Ethan's heart raced as he tried to log in, but his password didn't work. He'd been locked out. He called Maya, his voice shaking. "I didn't send those snaps, I swear. Someone hacked me." Maya's tone was cold. "It came from your account, Ethan. Everyone saw it. Fix this or we're done." She hung up, leaving Ethan staring at his phone, panic rising in his chest. His older sister, Lila, poked her head into his room, her dark hair messy from sleep. "What's with all the yelling?" she asked, frowning. "Someone's using my Snapchat to mess with my friends," Ethan said, showing her the messages. "They're posting as me. I can't even log in." Lila's frown deepened as she scrolled through the snaps, which were disappearing as they viewed them. "This isn't just a prank," she said, her voice serious. "They've got access to your account, your chats, your memories. We need to figure out who's doing this." Before they could dig deeper, another snap posted from Ethan's account. A video of Ethan spray painting the school's front doors, the red paint spelling out "losers" in jagged letters. The figure wore Ethan's favorite hoodie, the one he'd left in his locker, but the face was blurred by a filter. The caption read, "Catch me winning." Ethan's stomach churned as his phone buzzed with more messages. Classmates tagging him, the principal's office calling, his parents banging on his door. "Ethan James Carter," his mom shouted, storming in. "What is this? The school just called. They said you vandalized the doors." "I didn't do it," Ethan yelled, his voice cracking. "Someone's pretending to be me." His parents didn't believe him, grounding him on the spot, and the school suspended him pending an investigation. Ethan sat on his bed, his hands shaking as he stared at his phone, another snap posting from his account, a photo of his house captioned, They can't stop me. He turned to Lila, his voice low. We need to find who's doing this before they ruin my life. Ethan spent the day at home, his phone confiscated by his parents, but Lila smuggled him her laptop to investigate. She logged into his Snapchat on a browser, using a recovery email to reset the password, but the damage was already done. The impersonator had posted more snaps, each one worse than the last. A video showed Ethan stealing a bike from a neighbor's yard, another of him keying a car in the school parking lot, and a third of him shoving a freshman into a locker, the kid's cry muffled but audible. The snaps disappeared after viewing, but screenshots spread like wildfire among Ethan's classmates, his reputation crumbling. Lila traced the activity, her tech-savvy skills kicking in. The snaps are being sent from a different device, she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Whoever's doing this is local. They're using your hoodie, hitting places you know. It's someone we know. Ethan's mind raced, landing on a suspect, Dylan, a classmate who'd always hated him. They'd been friends in middle school, but Dylan blamed Ethan for getting him in trouble during a prank gone wrong, leading to Dylan's suspension. It's got to be Dylan, Ethan said, his jaw tight. He's got a grudge and he's got access to the school. They drove to Dylan's house that afternoon. Ethan's suspension be damned. Dylan answered the door, a lanky kid with a scowl, his phone in hand. What do you want, Carter? He snapped, his tone venomous. You're the one posting from my Snapchat, Ethan accused, his voice loud. You've been framing me, vandalism, bullying, all of it. Dylan laughed, holding up his phone. I don't even use Snapchat, idiot. Check it. Ethan grabbed the phone, scrolling through. No Snapchat app, no suspicious activity. But as they argued, another snap posted from Ethan's account. A photo of Dylan's front porch, where they stood, captioned, I'm closer than you think. Ethan's blood ran cold. The impersonator was watching them right now. We need to go, Lila said, grabbing Ethan's arm, her voice urgent. They drove home, Ethan's mind spinning. If it wasn't Dylan, then who? The police got involved that evening. A warrant issued for Ethan's arrest after the bike theft video surfaced online. His parents hired a lawyer, but the evidence was damning, all tied to his Snapchat account. Ethan's phone buzzed with a new snap from his own account. A video of Ethan committing a hit and run, the car swerving to hit a pedestrian before speeding off, the license plate visible. The caption read, Oops. Ethan's stomach dropped. They're trying to pin a felony on me, he whispered, his voice shaking. I'm going to jail for something I didn't do. Lila's eyes hardened. Not if we catch them first. We need to trace the locations in those snaps, find a pattern. Whoever's doing this is close, and they're getting sloppy. Ethan went on the run that night, hiding at Lila's friend's house while the police searched for him. Lila stayed with him, her laptop open as they analyzed the snaps. Look, she said, pulling up a map. The bike theft was on Oak Street, the car keying in the school lot, the hit and run on Maple Avenue, all within a mile of school. They're targeting places you'd be, people you know. It's personal. Ethan's mind flashed to another name, Marcus, an ex-friend who blamed Ethan for getting him expelled last year. They'd been close, but Marcus had cheated on a test, and Ethan had reported him, not thinking it would lead to expulsion. Marcus had vowed revenge, his last words to Ethan a chilling, You'll pay for this. It's Marcus, Ethan said, his voice low. He's got the motive, and he knows my routines. He could have stolen my hoodie from the locker room. Lila nodded, digging into Marcus's online presence. He's active on Instagram, posts a lot of skateboarding stuff near the park. Let's set a trap. Post a fake snap from a burner account. Say you're meeting someone there. If he shows up, we've got him. They created a new Snapchat account on Lila's phone, posting a story. Meeting a friend at the park, 8 p.m. by the skate ramp. Need to talk. They arrived early, hiding behind a cluster of trees, Ethan's phone set to record. At 8:05, Marcus rolled up on his skateboard, a wiry kid with a buzz cut, wearing Ethan's stolen hoodie. He looked around, his phone out, clearly expecting Ethan. Ethan stepped out, his voice shaking but firm. I know it's you, Marcus. You've been impersonating me, ruining my life. Marcus smirked, not denying it. You ruined mine first, he said, his tone cold. Got me expelled, made me the laughingstock. Now you're getting what you deserve. He pulled a knife from his pocket, the blade glinting in the streetlight. And I'm not done yet. Ethan froze, his phone still recording as Marcus lunged. Lila shouted, distracting him, and Ethan dodged, grabbing a stick from the ground to defend himself. Marcus swung the knife, grazing Ethan's arm, but Ethan swung the stick, hitting Marcus's hand, the knife falling. Lila called the police, her voice urgent, as Ethan tackled Marcus, pinning him until sirens wailed in the distance. Officers arrived, cuffing Marcus, who spat curses as Ethan handed over the recording. Marcus confessed, admitting he'd hacked Ethan's Snapchat to frame him, using the app to commit crimes in his name. Ethan's name was cleared, the charges dropped, but the damage lingered. His friends still distrusted him, his reputation in tatters. Ethan returned home that night, his arm bandaged, his parents' relief palpable as they hugged him. The police had Marcus in custody, his confession enough to exonerate Ethan, but the scars ran deep. Classmates whispered in the halls, some refusing to believe he'd been framed, the leaked snaps too damning to forget. Ethan deleted his Snapchat account, his phone a reminder of the nightmare, but a new snap appeared on Lila's phone, from Ethan's old username, now active again. The image showed Ethan walking home, captioned, "It's not over." "He shared my account with someone," Ethan said, his voice trembling as he showed Lila. "Someone's still out there." Lila's eyes narrowed. "We need to dig deeper. Marcus couldn't have done this alone. Not the hit and run, not the timing of that porch snap." They revisited Marcus's confession, the police report noting he'd bragged about friends who helped him. Lila hacked into Marcus's Instagram, finding messages with a girl named Casey, a junior who'd been close to Marcus. "She's got to be the accomplice," Lila said, pulling up Casey's profile. Photos of her at the park, the same skate ramp where they'd caught Marcus. They confronted Casey at her house, a small bungalow on the edge of town, Ethan recording as they knocked. Casey answered, her blonde hair tied back, her expression guarded. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice sharp. "You helped Marcus frame me," Ethan said, holding up his phone. "You're the one still posting from my account." Casey's face paled, but she didn't deny it. "Marcus made me," she said, her voice breaking. "He said if I didn't help, he'd ruin my life too. I drove the car for the hit and run. He filmed it, made it look like you." She started to cry, her hands shaking. "I didn't want to hurt anyone." Ethan kept recording, his anger mixing with pity. "Tell the police everything," he said, his voice firm. "End this." Casey nodded, wiping her tears, and they called the cops, who arrived to take her statement. She confessed fully, implicating herself and Marcus in the crimes, her guilt evident. Ethan felt a flicker of relief, but the trauma lingered. He'd lost friends, trust, and his sense of safety. The police shut down his old Snapchat account, but the damage was done. Ethan returned to school the next week, the whispers following him like a shadow. Some classmates apologized, but others kept their distance, the leaked snaps still fresh in their minds. He tried to move on, focusing on his classes, but the fear of being watched lingered. One day, Lila showed him a new snap from a copycat account, Ethan the Great too, posting smaller crimes in his name, like shoplifting candy from a gas station, captioned, "I'm back." "It's not over," Ethan said, his voice low. Marcus shared his hacking methods with others. "They're keeping this alive." Lila nodded, her jaw tight. "We need to trace this new account. Shut it down for good." They traced the copycat to a classmate, Kyle, a freshman who'd admired Marcus and wanted to emulate him. Ethan confronted Kyle after school, recording the encounter, and Kyle broke down, admitting he'd found Marcus's hacking notes online and thought it'd be cool to keep the game going. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," Kyle said, tears in his eyes. Ethan turned the recording over to the police, who expelled Kyle from school, his parents enrolling him in a program for troubled teens. Ethan felt a flicker of closure, but his trust in technology was shattered. He avoided social media, his phone a necessary evil, and focused on rebuilding his life, one small step at a time. Ethan started a blog a month later, anonymously sharing his story, warning others about online impersonation. Titled "The Snap That Stole My Life," it detailed the horror of being framed, the betrayal of friends, and the fight to clear his name. The blog gained traction, comments flooding in from others who'd been hacked or impersonated, their stories mirroring his. Ethan found solace in the community, his trauma becoming a tool to help others. He returned to school with a new resolve, ignoring the lingering stares, focusing on his grades and his blog. His parents, once skeptical, now supported him fully, proud of his resilience. Maya and Caleb came around, their friendship slowly mending, though Ethan knew some scars would never heal. One day, as he walked home from school, his phone buzzed. An anonymous message with a snap screenshot of him in class, captioned, "You can't escape." Ethan's heart raced, but he reported it to the police, who traced it to another classmate, a friend of Marcus's, seeking petty revenge. The classmate was suspended, his parents apologizing profusely, and Ethan felt the weight of the past lift slightly. He continued his blog, his voice growing stronger, his story inspiring change. Schools started workshops on online safety, citing his experience. Ethan walked home one evening, his phone silent for the first time in months, a rare moment of peace settling over him. The nightmare wasn't fully over, but he was ready to face whatever came next. The Snap Vendetta. Zoe sat alone at lunch, her tray of untouched food pushed to the side, her phone a shield against the whispers around her. At 15, a sophomore at Hillcrest High, she was the quiet girl everyone overlooked, until they didn't. Ava, the popular junior with a sharp tongue and sharper smile, had made Zoe her target. It started with snide comments about her thrift store clothes, escalated to mocking her stutter in class, and now included a Snapchat story Ava posted daily. Humiliating clips of Zoe tripping in the hall or fumbling her books, captioned with laughing emojis. Zoe scrolled through the latest snap, her cheeks burning as Ava's friends, Lexi and Connor, piled on with comments. "Loser," "Freak," their laughter echoing in her mind. She muted her notifications, but the damage was done, her inbox flooded with screenshots from classmates who'd seen it. She shoved her phone into her bag, her hands trembling, and left the cafeteria, the weight of their stares pressing on her. At home, Zoe locked herself in her room, the hum of her fan the only sound as she stared at her phone. Her older brother, Max, 18 and a senior, knocked on her door, his voice concerned. "You okay, Zoe? You've been quiet lately." "They won't stop," she whispered, showing him Ava's snap. "I can't take it anymore." Max's jaw tightened, his protective streak flaring. "Those jerks need to learn a lesson. Want me to talk to them?" Zoe shook her head, her eyes wet. "It'll just get worse." But an idea sparked, something she could do herself. She created a secret Snapchat account, Truth Teller, using a fake email, and spent hours gathering evidence. Screenshots of Ava's mean messages, videos of her laughing at Zoe in the hall, even a clip of her cheating on a test. Late that night, she posted the first snap, screenshots of Ava's insults, captioned, "See the real Ava." The snap went viral at school by morning, Ava's reputation taking a hit as classmates whispered. Zoe felt a rush of power, her fear fading as Ava's throne wobbled. But at school, Ava cornered her in the bathroom, her friends blocking the door. "You think you're clever?" Ava hissed, slapping Zoe hard across the face. She pulled out her phone, snapping the moment, captioned, "Crybaby fights back," and posted it. Zoe's cheek stung, her vision blurred with tears, but her resolve hardened. She'd started this, she'd finish it. Zoe's face throbbed as she walked home, the snap of Ava's slap burning in her mind. Max met her at the door, his eyes narrowing when he saw the red mark. "Who did this?" he demanded, his voice low. "Ava," Zoe said, her voice steady despite the pain. "But I'm fighting back. I posted about her on Truth Teller." Max nodded, impressed but cautious. "Be careful, Zoe. These things can spiral." Zoe didn't listen. She dug deeper, finding Ava's darkest secret. Photos of her cheating on Connor with another guy, taken at a party last month. She posted them on Truth Teller, captioned, "Ava's true colors," the evidence clear in the time-stamped snaps. The school buzzed the next day, Connor dumping Ava publicly in the cafeteria, her friends turning on her. Zoe watched from a distance, a mix of triumph and dread swelling in her chest. But Ava wasn't done. She confronted Zoe after school, her eyes blazing. "You'll regret this," she snarled, shoving Zoe against a locker. A snap from Ava's account showed the scene, captioned, "Revenge time," and Zoe's phone buzzed with threats from Ava's friends. That night, they ambushed her near her house, Lexi and Connor pinning her as Ava punched her stomach, the pain sharp and sudden. Zoe curled up, gasping, until Max found her, chasing them off with a shout. Max helped her inside, his face dark. "This is getting out of hand." We need to tell Mom and Dad, or the police. No, Zoe said, wincing as she Saturday I'll handle it. I've got more on them. She planned her next move, her anger fueling her. But the snap of her beaten figure posted by Ava lingered, a taunt she couldn't ignore. Zoe spent the weekend recovering, her bruises fading but her resolve growing. She posted more truth-teller snaps, Lexi stealing makeup from a store, Connor cheating on a quiz, each one unraveling their group. The school fractured, Ava's friends turning on each other, their Snapchat stories a mess of accusations. Zoe felt a twisted satisfaction, her power growing with each post, but the backlash was swift. Ava retaliated, sending a snap of Zoe's locker, spray-painted with snitch in red. Zoe's hands shook as she deleted it, but another arrived, her house, the windows dark, captioned, "I know where you live." Max installed a deadbolt, his voice tense. "They're escalating, Zoe. This needs to stop." Zoe nodded, but her anger drove her forward. She challenged Ava to a confrontation at a party that weekend, recording it on her phone. At the party, a crowded basement with pulsing music, Zoe found Ava near the keg, her friends hovering. "Let's end this," Zoe said, holding up her phone. Ava smirked, stepping closer. "You started this," Ava said, her voice cold. "Now you'll pay." She pulled a knife from her purse, slashing Zoe's arm, the cut shallow but bleeding. Zoe stumbled back, recording as Ava admitted to the bullying, the slaps, the ambush, her voice slurring with rage. Partygoers gasped, some pulling out their phones, but Zoe escaped, the video still rolling. She posted it on Truth Teller, the school erupting the next day. Ava was arrested for assault with a weapon, her knife confiscated, and Zoe felt a flicker of victory. But the snap of her bleeding arm, posted by Lexi, reminded her the fight wasn't over. With Ava in juvenile detention, Zoe thought the nightmare might end, but Lexi took up the torch. Snaps from Lexi's account showed Zoe's family, her mom at work, Max at school, captioned, "You'll pay for Ava." Zoe's fear returned, her arms still bandaged, as she told Max, "They're not stopping," she said, her voice shaking. Max grabbed a baseball bat, his voice hard. "I'll handle Lexi. You stay here." But that night, Lexi broke into their house, the front door splintering as she stormed in, bat in hand. Max tackled her, but she swung, hitting his head, blood gushing as he crumpled. Zoe screamed, grabbing a lamp and smashing it over Lexi's head, the glass shattering. Lexi fell, dazed, and Zoe tied her with a curtain cord, calling the police. Officers arrived, arresting Lexi, who confessed to the break-in, her motive revenge for Ava. Max was rushed to the hospital with a concussion, his condition stable but serious. Zoe sat by his bed, tears streaming, the guilt crushing her. "I started this," she whispered. "I wanted revenge, and now you're hurt." Max squeezed her hand, his voice weak. "It's not your fault, Zoe. They went too far." But Zoe deleted Truth Teller, her hands shaking, knowing her vendetta had spiraled beyond control. A snap arrived from an unknown account, Max in the hospital, captioned, "This is your fault." Zoe's stomach dropped, realizing Connor was still out there, plotting his own revenge. Zoe visited Max daily, his recovery slow, his forgiveness a balm but not a cure for her guilt. She avoided Snapchat, her phone a reminder of her mistakes, but the fear lingered. Connor's snaps continued, her school, her street, each one a threat. "He's planning something," she told Max, her voice low. Max, now home but still weak, urged her to stop. "Delete everything, Zoe. Let the police handle it." She agreed, telling her parents, who pulled her from school, enrolling her in online classes. But Connor found her, chasing her through a park one afternoon, his friends with him, their shouts echoing. Zoe hid behind a tree, recording their threats. "We'll get you," and sent the video to the police. Officers arrested Connor and his crew, their threats enough for charges, but Zoe's trauma deepened. She couldn't escape the memories, the slaps, the knife, Max's blood. Therapy helped, but the guilt of starting the cycle haunted her, her revenge a monster she'd unleashed. Zoe started homeschooling, her days quiet but heavy with reflection. She wrote an anonymous article, The Cost of Revenge, detailing her story, warning others about social media vendettas. Published online, it gained traction, comments from victims and bullies alike giving her hope. She found strength in sharing, her guilt easing as she helped others. Months later, Ava, released from juvie, sent a snap, an apology, her voice shaky, admitting her insecurities drove her bullying. Zoe didn't reply, but the weight lifted slightly. She deleted Snapchat for good, focusing on healing, her blog a new purpose. One day, walking in the park, her phone off, she felt a rare peace, ready to face her future.